All right, we're joined today with Ron Meredith, businessman, entrepreneur, radio expertise, unparalleled, been in the business for what we were talking about, 40 years now?
Yeah, this year makes, I started my first job in 1979 in LaFollette, Tennessee, so 40 years this year.
And that's when you started in radio, but you've been involved in broadcast, production, ownership.
Yeah. Bought our first station, in fact, WYSH in Clinton we bought in December of 1990. At the time, I was still living in Arizona, working for Buck Owens at KNIX. And so flew home after Christmas after buying this station and sold my house, sold my furniture, sold everything except my dog, got in a truck and drove from Phoenix, Arizona back here, and on April 1st took over WYSH.
So what led you into radio? Was there something that just kind of spurred your interest, or was it just kind of the option that appealed to you?
It's the only thing I ever wanted to do. My mom said when I was, too small for me to even recollect it, that I would walk around talking about I was going to be on the radio. And when I was 6, 7, 8 years old, my dad had one of those Panasonic cassette recorders, and I would sit and record myself talking, and then I would record a song off of the radio like I was introducing the song. So I was doing it. I don't know, I was just born to do it. It's a disease and I've got it.
You hear that from a lot of people involved in radio, is that it's always been something that they've been drawn to, even when they were young. So what's been some of your best experiences involved in radio?
First of all, accomplishing ownership, because at the time I was a young man, I was 23 years old, and to decide I was going to do it and actually put together the money to do it and buy it, that was the first thing. Number of accomplishments over the years. One of the biggest things that stands out in my mind is when I bought Wish. It was a small AM station, 30 years ago, in 1990, and AM radio was not at its peak in 1990. FM radio dominated everything. In March of 1993, we had the huge blizzard of 93, and for some reason I was the only radio station almost exclusively on the east coast of the United States of America that maintained power. You could listen to this station in Atlanta, Georgia, because there was no other interference. And so with all the TV stations and radio stations out here in Knoxville, I lived upstairs. I didn't have to trudge through the snow to get here. I just walked downstairs and sat down on the radio. And I actually became a dispatch center for Anderson County Police, ambulance, because a lot of phone lines were down and people couldn't get to them, but somebody could get to us, and then we'd get on the radio. And so for about 27 hours without stop, we broadcast in there while they were getting the electricity back up, and eventually some of the TV stations come back up. But it brought this radio station national coverage, and it brought local accolades from all of the governments, and from that moment on people started paying attention, and the success, it became easier. People heard what we were doing. They no longer discarded the little AM station in Clinton. We became something that they knew they could turn to for help or get information from, and it changed the entire dynamic of what my career would be, because I don't think without that I would have been able to accomplish. Over the years I've probably owned or been part of 16, 17, 18 radio stations, a worldwide home shopping network, and all of that I believe started at that moment because people understood it's more than just entertainment, and they began to do business with us.
That's something I think a lot of people forget, is what an asset radio is in times of crisis and in times of need. If power goes out and if internet servers go down, radio is where people are always going to be able to turn to get their information and news, and it becomes an asset to local law enforcement and fire dispatch as well. So that's amazing. I didn't know that.
Another great thing is once we got the money we needed to start building and buying large stations where we're going to compete in Knoxville. It's one thing to compete in Clinton, Tennessee with 9,000 people. It's another thing to step out into a metro area that has a country music station that has dominated for as long as WIVK, a great radio station, as long as they've been a part of this community. There had never been a radio station last more than 18 months competing against WIVK, ever.
Mm-hmm.
This is our 12th year at Merle FM. We built this from nothing. It was dirt. There wasn't a signal. There wasn't anything. We've been nominated 3 times as the radio station of the year or personality of the year. That's in the United States of America.
Mm-hmm.
We were one of the top 5 stations at the Academy of Country Music. I mean, I can't even really still digest it. 2 years ago, Jack was nominated again as personality of the year. So to start from nothing and to be able to, that's as big as it gets in this industry. I mean, winning it would be better. Take my word for it. I wish we'd have won. But to be nominated, when they say it's really an honor, for somebody from Campbell County, Tennessee that started at, 1979 at the age of 13 or 12, whatever it was, at a small AM station, that's a pretty big deal, pretty humbling experience.
And we were talking earlier, CMA is going on currently, and you were involved in that last year. A couple years ago, you had a showcase that you had curated yourself.
Well, we were invited at CMA Fest.
Mm-hmm.
Is probably 3, maybe 4 years ago. We were invited to host a showcase stage as a station. So Jack Ryan went down for a couple of days, and it was some of the new up-and-coming acts. But again, to be invited by the CMA to host a showcase stage was pretty cool. So he went down. In fact, one of the up-and-coming artists, oh my goodness, her name escapes me right now. First name's Rachel. I want to say Turner, but that's not right. Anyway, we got down there and got to know her, and then when we got nominated, I think the following year, she came out and did a show for us out on the Tennessee Riverboat. We'd been nominated for an ACM, and we said we can't take all of our audience to Vegas, but we're going to bring Vegas to you. So we rented the Tennessee Riverboat, hired her to come out and sing, and hired a company to bring all these craps tables, roulette wheels. Had a great time. So Jack made that contact there at CMA Fest, and it ended up working great for us. She's with Curb Records. I wish I could remember her name. But anyway, that was a fun time, and we love being involved with CMA.
So what are some of your favorite bands that you've seen come through here that you maybe saw some potential in, that you knew were going to be going on to bigger and better things?
Start with one, me personally. Rodney Atkins, who's from Tasman. He came down and he was on the air with, this is over on Wish, and he was on the air with me, and he was telling me all these things he was going to do, and I'm thinking, okay. And then he started singing, and I was like, oh, all right, he's going to go somewhere. Of course, we all know. I mean, he went on to a great career. Something that I wasn't necessarily part of in the beginning, but ended up part of in the end. When Garth Brooks first came out, I had just a brief encounter with him when I was in Arizona, but when I got back here, evidently he had went to WIVK and met with Mike Hammond, and so nobody was playing his music because he was brand new. Well, Mike played it. He went ahead and played it for him on the air right then, and Garth said, when I make it, I'll come back to Knoxville and I'll do you a free concert. And so it wasn't just a year or so. He got all these awards. I mean, he just blew up. And he did. He came back and did that free concert after he was the biggest country superstar on earth. Well, when Garth came to Knoxville 4 years ago,
Yeah.
He called here and said, I want you to be my welcome station. And he banned the other stations. Merle FM was the Garth Brooks station. He called, he was live on the air with us every day. Every announcement that he made. The day of his, I think his second concert, I can't remember, it was the Friday concert. I'm in the studio, and Kelly comes in, and she said, there's somebody on the phone says they're from Garth Brooks' record company. And I said, okay. Pick up the phone, and he said, hey Ron, do you think you guys could come early tonight? I said, I guess so. Why? And he said, well, Garth would like to meet you. And so I got to go, my wife and I got to go. We sat down on a couch with him and Trisha Yearwood for about 30 minutes and got to talk with him. And I reminded him of that story from Mike, and he recalled it and remembered it. I just thought, how full circle. At that time, Mike Hammond was working here, consulting us with our music and stuff. So there's like, just cool to be part of that, you know. So that's just a couple of folks that I've seen or been part of in some way that have went on to huge success.
Well, you've obviously been a huge supporter of local talent and local entertainment. You've brought some great artists here. You've always supported artists coming through. You have the Local Music Mondays.
We do.
And you have Temper Evans, who's also a local musician herself.
Yes, she's an artist.
Anything that you would suggest to local artists that are trying to get out there? Because country music is an industry that is very, very difficult to make it in. It's hard to stand out.
Well, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. For one, I've played music all my life. I understand what it means to hear no and invest everything you've got into music, and it just seems like someone sitting behind the microphone, they don't have the ability to play it. Or corporate radio, they say, you know, there's a strict playlist and we don't play unknowns or what have you. And that's why since I've had Merle, we've played local people, because there is tremendous music out there, and I feel like why hide it just because they live here, you know? What is it they say? The Bible says a prophet's not respected in his hometown. That's kind of what it is. We've got great artists. And so I said, when I was building this station, I was going to play local music. You wouldn't believe how many of these radio geniuses told me that we'd go out of business doing it 12 years ago. But I just think it's important. Now, not every local artist, and I don't mean this to sound bad, but is airworthy. You know, it's got to be good. But I just felt like there was a hole in country music in Knoxville because there was no competition, and there was not a place for people to have a showcase on the air. And here they do. Not just a showcase, but I mean we dedicate an entire shift once a week, Local Music Monday, to an artist, a local artist. We don't just hear their music, we hear their story, we hear their recordings, and we let them play live. So I mean, Merle listeners get a full taste of whoever our artist is for that Monday. And I think it's important. I mean, I hope people appreciate it. They seem to. But we're going to keep doing it as long as we can keep the lights on and keep the wheels turning. We'll keep doing it.
Well, Ron, thanks so much for sitting and talking with us today. And don't forget to like and subscribe, ProMotion, and hit up Merle FM.
Yes, sir.
You guys are on Facebook.
Merle FM on Facebook, Merle FM on Alexa, wherever Merle FM everywhere. 96.7 mostly. And
your other stations as well.
Yes, we've got 96.3, Praise FM. We've got AM 1380, Wish. It's also FM 101.1. Up in La Follette, we've got AM 960, and we'll very soon have FM 95.9 on the air up there. So, got a few.
Got you covered in the East Tennessee area. Listen up and stay tuned to ProMotion for more great interviews. Like and subscribe down below.
Very good.